Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel. Today we're looking at Out of Sight by Joshua J. Before we roll the intro, I do want to say something really quick. I just started a new series on the channel called Quick Fire Magic Reviews. That is my last video on the channel. If you have the time and the few minutes to check it out, please just go comment what you think of the idea, what I could do differently, or anything like that. It would be greatly appreciated. As long as a like, a comment, and a follow, I always appreciate those to just have a small reminder that people are enjoying and I am helping them in the reviews. Enough of that, let's roll the intro. Perfect, so you've stuck around to learn more about Out of Sight. I know Out of Sight is a product that doesn't require much explanation because it has fooled Penn and Teller and it has been selling out in matter of days every single time it restocks. So that is Out of Sight by Joshua J. So where can you buy this and how much does it cost? This costs $75 US and is available on CardShark or Vanishing Ink. I got mine specifically from CardShark because Vanishing Ink has had, extremely fast sales for the product, and I've never been able to catch one over there. It's always been sold out, so I decided to get one to get my own product from CardShark. Now, before I say something more, I did say that I'm not going to mention much about what the effect is because most people know, but in case there are some people that are not aware, I will just explain it to you super briefly. So Out of Sight is essentially an effect where you blindfold yourself and you ask someone to take the deck of cards while you're not looking, think of any card in the deck and give a cue to the spectators. For example, if he's thinking of a 7, he's gonna deal silently 7 cards to cue everyone in the audience that the card they're thinking of is a 7. Afterwards, they're gonna do the same thing for the suit. And when you turn around, you get a small feel for the cards and you tell them, I feel something specific about this card. What was the card you were thinking of? Let's say for the sake of argument, they say 8 of diamonds. You show you took out the 8 of diamonds and then you tell them that it was impossible for them to think of any other card in the deck because the entire deck is blank and the entire deck is blank except for the selected 8 of diamonds. Now that that's out of the way, let's go into what you get inside of the package. So inside of that package that I just showed you before, you get a DVD that runs around 45 minutes in which Joshua J explains the trick, and afterwards you have Christian Karcharchenk that comes and kind of complements certain stuff about the deck, its workings, how it's made, and extra applications such as those. And of course, with the purchase, you get the deck of cards itself. It is made on Phoenix back, so if you don't use much Phoenix back, that is maybe going to be a negative, which I'm going to explain later, but it is made on Phoenix back, and they're also as nice as to give you a blindfold to use in the routine itself, and that is essentially what you get in the package. Now, let's talk about another aspect that is quite important. What is the difficulty of the effect? So the difficulty of the effect in itself, it is quite simple. It does require you to give good explanations because if the spectator misunderstands or misdoes anything in the trick, it will fail. Simple as that. It will not work. So you do need to have a good sense of explanation in order to guide the spectator and feel comfortable while turning your head and being blindfolded while he does that. So you do have to take that in mind. Apart from that, when you get control of the deck again, it doesn't require anything. It is pretty much self-working from there. All you have to do is do a special move and then just spread the deck and it is done. It doesn't require much more than that. But let me explain to you one thing that is maybe problematic. You may be saying, Sebastian, you have incredibly huge glasses. How are you going to put a small blindfold and pretend that you are blind or you're not able to see? I actually do this a different way that Christian explains on the Magic Cafe forums. He tells you, instead of putting the blindfold on yourself, why not make the spectator feel like he was part of the story and he plays the role of the blind person and he puts the blindfold on himself so that he can experience the trick of the mind as explains Joshua J. And that is the presentation that I take. So I just take off my glasses, I ask one spectator to put his hands over my eyes so that I can't see, while the other spectator does what he's supposed to do, and afterwards I just take the deck normally and continue the routine. It does the same thing, and it moves the focus of the blindfold and of essentially the entire routine on the spectator and gives him the star appearance. So that is what I have to say about difficulty and how to mismanage, if you cannot see with glasses. Apart from that, where do you perform this effect? This is an effect that you want to perform in a professional settings on a table with a mat. You do not want to do this at a cocktail or anything like that. This is a routine that you do want to perform at a special venue. Something is not something that you're going to do over and over, walk around from table to table. This is something that you're going to do most likely as a closer for your entire show, or a closer for your intermission, or at the start of your intermission, or start your show with this. Even though this is so powerful, I wouldn't start my show with it. I would rather close the show with it. But that is up to you. But you do need a table, the possibility to invite someone to come to the table to sit next to you, and to people to be in front or around you while the effect works. So you cannot perform this walk around, table hopping, or on the street as a street performer. I wouldn't even do this on a restaurant table or anything like that. You do not want this to get dirty. This is an expensive piece of magic, so I would treat it as such. Apart from that, one thing that I want to mention about practicality. So now that we get into our practicality section, you do have to carry the deck specifically for this effect. You cannot carry this in another effect. You do have to carry this specific deck. It is a Phoenix back. So if you don't perform with Phoenix, you're going to have to find a way to introduce this in your show. So either you perform your entire show with Phoenix and then you introduce the deck, or you just find a way, you give your deck to someone as a gift, and then you pull out this deck and do your routine to close out the show. That will work. However, I do want to mention that you could make this with your own bicycle deck if you buy the special product that the deck requires, but that is extremely expensive. It costs over $100 for the product if you want to make this your own. So that's up to you. If you really like this effect and you want to make it on bicycle cards, then that will cost you a little bit more, and you won't even be able to get the full experience of the deck, because apart from that special something, there's a lot more going on than just that, special ingredient that you can buy yourself. So most likely you're going to be stuck with a Phoenix deck if you buy this trick. You will not necessarily be able to do anything about it. And one thing also that I have to mention is that the deck is not fully examinable. They can examine quite a few of the deck and you can make it seem completely fair, but the deck is not fully examinable, but it is in a great majority examinable. And one other thing that I want to mention is that, on the instructions and everything, he says that the cards barely split when they're on the table. So people could, even if they touch them or slide anything, they won't split. However, that's not really the case because they split quite easily. So they won't split if you just spread them. But if you start pushing cards or, moving the cards around, there is going to be some weird splitting going on that you do not want the audience to see. So now that I've mentioned all of this, I think it's time to give it the positives and negatives and get into the verdict. So let's get first into the positives. So what are the positives of this trick? It is incredibly powerful. It engages the audience with a nice story and volunteers. The packaging and everything you get is complete. You get the deck, you get the blindfold, you get the instructions that are incredibly shot and really well explained, and you get a quality product that is not gonna wear out on you anytime soon, except if you perform this every single day, every venue of the year, then maybe. But apart from that, there are also some negatives to the product. Number one, it is only available in Phoenix. Number two, it is not fully inspectable, even though it doesn't have to be. Number three, if you have eyesight problems like me, you are going to have to switch the routine up a little bit into, switching who has the blindfold. And lastly, I don't know if this was just my deck or all of them, but it is not as carefree as everyone mentions. At least in my case, the cards split pretty easily. I barely have to put any force. I know that in the instructional and everything, he shows you a specific way to take out the cards, because if not, they won't even separate. But in my case, just a small touch and they separate themselves. I don't know if that's a new manufacturing process or something, but that's not the case in mine. So that is a small negative that I do have to mention in my case. Apart from that, let's get into the verdict. So having heard all of that I've said, the product is very, very good. It is something that I will use in closers at some of my shows. It is quite easy to do. It's something that I do enjoy, and it does require a high mark, but not the best mark possible. I'll give this a 9 on 10. It is a really, really good product, but there are some shortcomings to it for many performers out there. So I think that just for that, it does lessen a little bit the effect. But if you can ring in a Phoenix deck into your performance, if you can switch the environment and get, the best possible place to perform this, I do think that you're going to leave your spectators with a great, great image of Magic, and they're going to thoroughly enjoy it. So that's why, even though with the shortcomings, I still give it a 9. I want to thank everyone for watching and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.